really excited for this episode, though.
Me too. It's actually something I've been thinking about a little bit, so.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Well, welcome to episode 10 of the Lonelycast.
Welcome.
Woo! We've made it 10 episodes in. It's very exciting.
Double digits. Pretty excited.
Double digits, yeah. Today we're going to be talking a bit about identity and how, like, for me, I also mentioned this to Brittany when we were planning the episode, but I was saying that we should also talk about, like, what happens when people don't like you. And, like, I think for me, there's a connection between identity and ego. And I think a lot of the time, if people don't like us or accept us for who we are and what we identify as, or the core values of who we are as people, let's say, it can be a shot to the ego. And how, at least for me, and I know that this isn't a universal truth for everybody, I think it's probably just some of my mental stuff, but oftentimes it can cause me to reevaluate my identity and try and, like, fix things that aren't necessarily broken to try and make sure that I'm, like, still trying to fit into a collective in a way. But yeah, those are just my kind of, like, initial thoughts on it. Like, obviously I have more, but what about you, Brittany?
I think I'm similar in that. I think that's pretty common. Like, especially if you have worked really hard to, like, be, like, truly yourself, and then someone not liking it, you're like, well, fuck. Why did I do this? Because, like, if you're kind of putting on a show or, like, trying to appease people and someone doesn't like you, it's like, well, I'm already not really being myself, so who cares? I've just been thinking a lot lately about how different I am at home and how different I am. Okay.
Like, out in the world and socializing?
Suck it back in.
Yeah.
How different I am between being home and being, like, out socializing. It's, like, two very different personalities. And even, like, me just sitting talking to you here is, like, I'm way more shy. I, like, don't jump into conversations in person, and I'm trying to kind of connect those two personalities I have. And just become the ultimate Brittany.
Yeah, the ultimate Brittany.
This is the goal. No, but I've been thinking a lot about how much I cared about people not liking me. And, like, you know, I don't think that's ever going to go away. Like, to some extent, I still am kind of concerned with what people think of me, but I just remind myself that, like, not everyone's my cup of tea, so I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I could have worded that better, but just, like, there's people I don't like, so it's not crazy that there's people that don't like me, you know? I'm not for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my initial thought.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, and, like, that's something that, like, I've consciously been trying to work harder at over the past, like, 3 years. I feel like this is just, again, the way that my mind works. I, like, set up, like, goals for myself each year. This isn't an individual thing. I need to stop trying to give myself an individuality complex, but I'm like, yeah, I set goals at the beginning of every year, and it's so special and unique to me. No one else does it. I think maybe everybody should try it sometime.
No, but you're talking about your experience. It works.
Yeah. But the big theme has been kind of, like, caring less what people think of me, and just kind of doing my own thing and not being so caught up on the opinions of others. Or a big thing for me is, like, masking when I get into social situations, and, like, instead of, you know, I'm not someone who enjoys, like, niceties, like daily niceties, or it's not that I don't enjoy it, it's just, like, I am very anxious about, like engaging in it.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to like small talk or like just like casually striking up a conversation with a coworker that I don't normally talk to, like that to me is like very uncomfortable. And so instead of putting myself out there or like even like trying to make new connections when I have someone that I'm close to standing next to me, I shut down completely and I go the opposite direction. And it's like I'm no longer myself around other people, and I would rather just like kind of like not really talk, like just kind of exchange like the necessary communication to get through the day, and then like, you know, occasionally crack the joke so that like people are like, oh, they're really funny, they seem like a cool person. But yeah, no, it's not healthy. And so my thoughts over the past year specifically has been, okay, well, when I'm not in those forced social situations, whether it be work or going out to a thing with friends or something like that, who am I? Because I don't think that who I am is truly reflected in those situations. And part of that is identity. And I think that like it's important to mention the distinction between like a collective identity and an individual identity, because I think what we're mostly going to be talking about today is individual identity, and how we form it and build it. I used to think that the people that surrounded me, whether it be my friends or my family or my coworkers or like all external sources of like socialization, made me who I was and gave me value as a human being. And my identity was wrapped up a lot in that. That as I've started to kind of remove myself from that thinking of, well, the people around me are a reflection of who I am as a person, which to a certain extent is still true, but like it's not everything. My identity now lies in my own core values and like how I spend my time and stuff like that, and like what I believe to be true in the world, I think. And like how my external world needs to shift to fit my individual identity to a certain extent. So whether that be like the job that I hold or the people that are close to me, instead of trying to fit my own self into the external world, my external world can be built around my individual identity. And I mean, that's coming from a place as well of I've had the privilege to be able to do that, and growing up in a capitalistic individual mindset, from like a family who was like pretty like low to middle class and stuff, I've been able to have these opportunities to like go out and discover the world for myself and, you know, find out those pieces of myself as an individual. So there's a lot of privilege in me being able to say that, but it's been a journey. And I think that like it's starting to come full circle back to, okay, if I'm going to like figure out who I am at my core and what I value and like my individual identity and like what's important to me in the long run, now I have to start building my external world, and whether like I'm starting to value those who are close to me and hold not the same identity, but like hold the same values close to them. And I want to have those people around in my life. It's not necessarily about me going out and experiencing the world anymore. It's more so like I want to hold on to those people who are closest with me and build community in that sense as well. That was a whole fucking mouthful. I'm so sorry. But that's basically what I've been thinking about over the past,
love when
like,
Abby
2
monologues
weeks.
because I'm like taking it all in, but I'm also like, the words that are going to come out of my mouth next are going to sound so simple in comparison.
No. What does identity mean to you?
I don't really have an answer because I'm still figuring out what identity means to me and what my identity is. Like pre-COVID, I spent a lot of time with myself trying to like learn more about myself. But I'm still like confused about who I am as a person. Like I have very strong core values that have always been consistent, and ideas and thoughts that will never change. But I still don't know who I am or who I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents. Jesus Christ. I don't know. I'm really wrapped up in like trying to figure out how to separate like people perceiving me and just like my identity and who I am, and how like those don't have to be connected, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Because right now I think that I'm caught up in being the best version of myself, but not for myself. Like, I want other people to see me as like well put together and confident. And yeah, I don't know if any of what I just said made sense, but
no, that 100% makes sense. I think that like, yeah, we often, it's important to remind ourselves that like when we choose to do things, the most important person that we're doing it for should be us. But like, it's difficult because especially because I think of the social expectations put on us by media. I mean, I don't want this to turn into like a social media is evil, blah blah blah, but like our lives are so visible to the world. Basically, anybody has access to us, to our energy, to our what we're putting out into the world. Like, and of course we can make conscious choices to kind of like shut ourselves out in a way, but I think that like constantly consuming media that, you know, shows off how other people are doing, whether that be like health wise or like travel wise or job wise or whatever, it gets us into a competitive mindset that like we only have value if we're able to prove to people that we're doing well. And if we can't prove it, and if we can't, you know, say like, oh, like, you know, I got this new promotion and I am doing so great, like despite the fact that we're all going through global trauma right now and dealing with like a whole bunch of like hard emotions and stuff. Once we get wrapped up enough in like that culture and that idea of, you know, identity in like a social media context, when people don't like us and when people don't, you know, get us or want to understand us or give us their attention, it's a huge shot to the ego because it still is so like built up in what other people perceive. And I don't think that it's necessarily like something that like can be deconstructed in a day or like should be deconstructed entirely, because I think it's important that we're still like not harming anybody, you know? Like it does matter the impact that we have on people. But yeah, it definitely like it makes it tough to sort out, okay, what's real, what's for myself, and like what have I been doing that's for other people for like so long. And it can become a huge part of our identity. And like, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that it's something that in the long run can cause us to be hurt more than necessary, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah. I think I'm so shy and like don't really speak up in social situations because I have been like conditioned to. Like, it's like I partially because I'm nervous about what I'm gonna say and if it's gonna come across like the whole podcast. Every time I go to say something, I'm like apologizing. Yeah, but like it's partially because I'm nervous about saying the wrong thing or not wording what I want to say right, and just also because like growing up and like with the media and stuff, I feel like I always thought that women were supposed to be like quiet and cute and dainty. Like that's kind of like what people want, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another reason why I'm quiet. And that's another reason that I get so concerned with what I say in the podcast and the way that I come across. Our one outside episode, I think that I was just being myself. Like a little nervous, of course, but I texted Abby and I was like, I don't like the way I sounded in that. And it was because I was like swearing and cracking jokes and just not being cute and dainty. You
weren't being woman-like. You
weren't
being ladylike.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like something that like if someone said, oh, you're like trying to, I'm like, no, like fuck that. I'm a feminist. Women can be whatever they want to be. That's bullshit. But like in the back of my head, I think that's also affecting my identity. Like I want to be perceived as like cute and quiet and dainty, but I'm not. I'm really obnoxious and loud, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And like, I think I just burped into the mic.
I love that. It's a little treat.
Yeah. We're like, yeah, fuck being ladylike.
But I like, I think, sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to make another joke.
That's something that like you don't think about, but is like in the back of your head. Because as much as I second guess myself and get nervous, like there are times where I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't make that joke because like it's a little too raunchy or whatever. Yeah. And that's just stemmed from wanting to be a lady. Just want to be a lady.
It definitely is like, it definitely is difficult, especially, and I think this is a huge thing, that because we've grown up in like a patriarchal society and a capitalistic society, the idea of identity, if not looked at closely and carefully, can be kind of a scam, because a lot of people will form their identity around these like society norms and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, it's definitely okay to be a hard worker, and it's okay to, you know, like your job or be good at your job or like want to, you know, as a staunch as a staunch anti-capitalist. Well, not really. I have values that are misaligned with my external world, which I'm working on. But I think that like a lot of the time our identities are wrapped up in the conditionings of like a capitalistic and patriarchal society, in that it's like, my identity lies in the job that I have and how well I'm doing at the job and how much money I'm making, or how beautiful I am, like let's say for like a woman or femme person who is subscribing and forming their identity and their, you know, look like that around the male gaze. This is where like there's this debate where it's like, well, is there something wrong with that? And then you kind of have to go like at it on an individual basis, where it's like, well, why is your identity wrapped up in the male gaze or in capitalism? Like, what, like, does it actually inherently bring you joy, or is it something that you've been told is important and should be honored and recognized in who you are as a person, and so you're making choices based on that? And I think from what I've seen on TikTok, but God bless the algorithm because it tailors things for me, so I see a lot of it all the time, but it seems like there kind of is this collective reckoning of coming to terms with like, well, who am I outside of these things, outside of the patriarchy, outside of a capitalistic society? Because I mean, every generation thinks the world is going to end and stuff like that, but it does feel like we kind of are coming to a reckoning now at this point. And I think that there's this kind of global exhaustion that's going on, maybe more particularly aimed at like Western societies and stuff like that, where it's like, wait, this is not something that is going to last, you know? This is not something that is forever. What will I have outside of this once like it's all gone? And even that's like something as simple as like, oh, my identity is really wrapped up in being like super feminine and like beautiful and like attract the attention of men or from, you know, like for whatever reason. It's like, okay, so that's fleeting. Like, of course, like you want to take care of yourself and like you want to present yourself in the best way possible. But like, why? Like, what are you gaining from that? Aside from attention or acceptance from a patriarchal society.
This is perfect. I'm just gonna let Abby go off, and I'm just gonna nod. This is what I want the podcast to be. Yeah, no, that's again great point. Yeah, I have to ask myself all the time. It's like, am I doing this because I want to do it, or because it's something I care about, or is it because this is just what I feel like I have to do? And yeah, I have to remind myself when I get like wrapped up in the way that I look, and that like it doesn't fucking matter. Like obviously you want to look good. It like gives you some serotonin. But like, yeah, nothing fucking matters.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like, we're trying so hard to appease all these things and like appease all these different people, and we're not doing anything for ourselves.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just you and your brain. Like, that's the only thing that's like a for sure. The people and the things and just the world. The world is fucking... You see the ocean's on fire?
The ocean's on fire. Fucking BC has pyrocumulonimbus clouds over it right now because of all the fires. And those clouds spit out fucking lightning that makes more fire. I saw that and I was like, the world is ending.
It's gotta be.
Everything. This is it. This is the end. It's fucking done.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's like it's either it's gonna get dark, but we could die at any point. There was a woman who was killed by a can of whipped cream that exploded. Okay, like you're never safe. Sorry. I'm
not laughing at that.
I have a point. But either you're gonna die or the world's gonna fucking end. And do you really want to go out being like missing opportunities and just being so miserable because you care about what people think? I don't know. I just like once a day I have to remind myself, I'm like, I could just get hit by a fucking truck today. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like so concerned with like presenting myself in a certain way. It's like, who cares? And it's always for people that like I wouldn't hang out with anyways. Exactly. Or like I don't really care about their opinion. Like I remember when we started this, for a good while after high school, there were still people from high school that like I for some reason cared about their opinions, and I have no interest in hanging out with them or talking to them because we're so very different. But like, when we posted our first episode and stuff, I was like, oh, what are they gonna think? And it's like, who fucking cares? Literally. I'm like, I'm searching for acceptance in people that I don't even care about, and I don't like myself. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Especially with the whole podcast thing. Like, I think I've relatively been okay with, putting stuff out there, especially like since kind of moving away. I feel like moving away gave me the space to be able to do things and try things without like having those people's opinions in my mind be so magnified to like, oh, I'm gonna run into them on the street one day, and
Yeah,
like, what if they say something to me about it?
Still dealing with that.
Yeah, so there's like that was one thing that like really helped me in a way. But even then, like, it's just, I mean, this is gonna get a little bit personal, and I do know that some of my coworkers like listen to this, so I'm gonna be as respectful as possible. But I definitely work in a place where your image, your look, your style, the way that you act, what you like, what your interests are, what you do outside of work, your status, your clout per se, all of that really matters in how not everybody there would treat you, like, because that's definitely not the case for everybody, but for a large portion of the people that I work with, I think that there is like some truth to that, where it's like that is very important, and there's like kind of a culture around that. Also, just the fact that we work in e-commerce, it's a very like, it's capitalist to its core. And it's a corporate environment as well. It's just but my biggest thing is I was like, oh, what are my coworkers gonna think? And I had to stop myself. I was like, with all due respect, peace and love, but fuck that. Like, fuck that opinion.
No,
like,
literally.
I genuinely I genuinely, like, if they have something negative to say about it, then, whatever. If anybody has something negative to say about it, it's kind of like, all right, like, why? Like, what are your reasons? Is it just because, like, I'm doing something that's different? But then I've come to realize that A, not a whole lot of people care as much as I thought they would.
Yeah.
And B, the ones that do care are the ones that are actually actively listening to the podcast and telling me how much they enjoy it, which just makes, like, sometimes like, I'll just have a coworker that comes up and is like, oh, I started listening to your podcast. Like, I really like it. Like, it's so funny. I relate to it so much. And like, my first reaction is always just like, huh?
Well, it's like when someone like mentions a post that you made in person, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Like, I'll get comments that'll just be like, I really like your Instagram stories. The memes that you share are so funny. Or like, I really like when you just like talk on your Instagram stories. Like, it's so funny. And I'm like,
yeah.
It's not just a void I'm throwing stuff out into.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing, though. It's like, I like, going back to your ego, it's like, people don't care. Like, people aren't sitting talking about us. Like, they might see it and be like, oh, that's not for me. And that's the extent. But we're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
They're, like, making, like, a list about, like, everything they didn't like.
Yeah.
Discussing it in the conference room.
I definitely, like, I think from experience with certain people, like, there have been times in my life where there have been groups of people that love to talk their shit about me, but it's never for actual valid reasons outside of them either being jealous, a little bit like, well, I wouldn't go so far as to say jealous, because I still can't wrap my brain around that thought. I think that my self-image is so shitty that like, I couldn't comprehend the idea of someone actually being jealous of me. And that's why it bothers me when people use that word so much.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's fake. That's not real. But I think that there's a certain aspect of being threatened by someone who is secure in themselves, where it's like, not necessarily like, I don't know, maybe it is jealousy. I don't know. But some people get threatened by that. Or like, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. The thing that I have to remind myself is that, like, if someone's making fun of something that you're doing, it means they're too scared to try it themselves. So I, like, feel more bad for them, because it's like, the type of people that will talk shit and make fun of you are too scared to try certain things on their own, and they're not living their life the way that they want to, because they're so wrapped up in like embarrassment and like what other people will think. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, that's props to us for being able to deconstruct that a little bit in our own lives, and being like, at least taking a step forward and being like, I'm gonna just talk and put shit out there and see if people like it. That's like, you know, points for us on being able to kind of get out of our own heads, because I know that both you and I are really bad for that, where it's like, what are people gonna think? Like, their opinion really matters to me, and if they don't like me or they don't like it, then it's gonna like probably shake up my world.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh.
My mom is texting me right now, and she's like, I tried calling you and it didn't go through. I was like, I'll call you in a little bit, just wait. And she was just like, there's something wrong with your phone. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with my phone. I'm just doing something. She's like, there's no reason that you can't answer the phone right now. There's obviously something wrong with your phone. It's broken. Anyways, but yeah, like, I still struggle with it because, and I think you're the same. I have days where I'm just like, I don't want to be on social media at all. I don't want anyone to look at me. So like, knowing that there's like full hour videos on YouTube of us.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, it stresses me out.
Yeah.
Do you like my shudder?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of getting to the point where, like, we postponed filming because I was having a bad mental health week, and most of the time it's just me being wrapped up in like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not being who I should be, other people don't like me, blah blah blah, and it's all just like, I don't know. I'm just reminding myself that I can sit and be sad and complain about not being, like, doing what I want to do or being who I want to be, or I could just start trying, you know? I think, like, the biggest issue that I have is just feeling like I haven't accomplished much. And, you know, not excluding the podcast, of course, but just like, there's a lot of stuff that I want to try or do, and I just don't because I'm scared. And trying to get past that. Yeah. By reminding myself that I could die any moment. That's my go-to advice.
For sure. I definitely think, though, that there is something to be said that, like, we can't force ourselves to do anything that we're either like mentally not ready to do or anything like that. And it's finding the things that excite us and like kind of spark us that is important, because there is this whole culture around like productivity. And if we're not being productive and we're not like trying a bunch of things all the time, then like, what's our worth? And like the monetization of like how monetizable our skills are, like, because there's this idea that like, oh, if I'm gonna like try this thing, then I want to get like good enough to it, like maybe this is something I can turn into a career, or like I can sell, like, yeah. And that's where like I started to realize that like part of who I am as a person is I no longer value being able to like sell myself to people, whether that be through like an actual job, selling my labor, or selling like products of like what I do, like, because there's always been something that like I've never been super inspired to like go and like, let's say, make photography like a career. Like, it's always been an idea where I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to be able to like work in editorial photography and like, you know, shoot portraits and do like fashion magazines and stuff like that. Yeah. But there's something holding me back, and it isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm scared people aren't going to like my work. It's more of a, I don't want to lose my passion and excitement for this thing that I really love, because I have to turn it into a means of survival for myself and sell it and market it to people in order to like make my existence valid in the eyes of
Yeah.
society, you know? Which is all
it's hard because it's like, sorry.
No, that's okay. It's okay. But I was just gonna say, like, it's just like, it's not. No, I don't know. That was the end of my thought, pretty much. But yeah.
Well, it's like, it's hard because, like, hobbies cost money, whether it be materials or just like wanting to take classes or whatnot. And it's like, just the way that we've been conditioned is like, if this isn't going to make me money, then this isn't worth it, kind of thing. It's like, why am I spending money on something that I'm not going to make money from? But then at the other end, it's like, if you are really into something and you have a lot of fun doing something and then it becomes your full-time job, you lose a lot of the joy that you used to have for it. So it's a shitty cycle.
Definitely. And that's where, like, I think the only saving point for me in, like, pursuing certain hobbies is, like, of course, like, I've always had a job, like, since I was, like, 14, 15. And I've used that to be able to spend money on my hobbies. But the biggest thing has been being able to, like, reach out to my collective or to my friends and, like, be able to share resources in a way. Like, like, all of the editing programs, like my Adobe suite, the only reason why I have it is because my friend Taya, who also has a podcast, has Adobe suite and is sharing it with me, and then our friends Gwen and Maya, who also have a podcast. And so it's the reason why we're able to all edit our podcasts and do graphics for things. And, like, it's the sharing of resources and, like, the elevating of, like, our friends and, like, the encouragement to, like, do things and being like, oh, hey, I have this, you can totally borrow it sometime, or, like, I can come help you out with this and we can, like, work on this project together. That's been, like, the most fulfilling and exciting part of pursuing hobbies for me, because it takes the pressure off of, oh, like, I have to pay, like, fucking, like, what is it, like, $90? Like, no, it's like so much money to get Adobe Suite. Like, it makes no sense. Or, like, even if someone has, like, old pieces of tech that, like, they're looking to get rid of, like, they'll be able to, like, sell it to you for, like, a lower price just for being your friend. And I think, like, as a collective of, like, the creative collective needs to get better at A, sharing resources, and B, mentioning, like, your friends' names in rooms or, like, on projects and stuff like that, because you want to see them be able to, like, be creative and, like, do really exciting fun things as well. And I think that's,
like, even just sharing, like, letting other people know about what your friend is working on goes so far.
Exactly.
Shout out to Matthew.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
My friend Matthew shares, like, all of our stuff every time. He constantly lets me know how much he enjoyed each episode, and it means a lot, because like, we're still starting out, like, we're still pretty small, but, like, just hearing even from, like, a couple people that they're really liking what we're putting out makes it, like, that much worth it. Much more worth it. Sorry.
No, I 100% agree. And Breaking the Cycle podcast as well.
Yes.
They've been so sweet and lovely.
So sweet.
And, like, both Matthew and Breaking the Cycle have been really, like, motivating factors in continuing doing this kind of stuff. And it has been for me, like, since I started kind of creating stuff and putting it out there. Like, the goal necessarily, I don't think the goal ever was to, like, make money or be monetized. It's to build community. And it's to be able to, like, reach out to people and, like, create a place that, like, everybody can come and, like, share their experiences and, like, feel like they're not alone in certain aspects. And, like, I think, like, bringing it back to the topic of identity, I've discovered that is such a huge part of my identity, especially kind of stepping back from this individualistic mindset of, like, oh, I need to do all these crazy things and I need to see the world and I need to, like, you know, figure out, like, what I want to do for the rest of my life and all of this stuff. I'd rather just like build a community based around the same kind of core values and stuff like that. Not in a culty way, like, and I'm not.
This
like,
is a cult.
Honestly.
God damn it, Abby. She let it slip. Fuck.
Sometimes I think about like what my ultimate goal is in my life. It's like I just want to help people and like build a collective and like share community and like all this stuff. Oh, and I'm like, wait, am I trying to like start like a commune, like a cult? Like what's happening? Like, am I okay? But I think that there's just like so much damage that has been done by our individualistic capitalistic society and making us all feel like we're alone and that we need to like fight to get to the top of society and like climb the corporate ladders and be in a social hierarchy and like succeed. That it leaves us all feeling extremely isolated. And so I think, one of my core values and part of who I am now is like building that community, even if it's through the internet. But like, I don't know. I've been dealing with a lot of thoughts recently about like my move and like what I want to do next, because there's just a lot of things that I've been valuing in my life that have ultimately been unfulfilling and have made me realize that what I'm doing isn't necessarily me. Like, it's not a reflection of who I am. And so I've been like toying around with ideas like, where do I want to move next? Like, do I want to move back home and like just kind of focus on like building closer relationships with my family and stuff like that? But
do I want to buy a plot of land and start a cult? It's like,
you know what, like exactly, just save up all my money and I don't know, like start the Lonelycast commune. No, but I don't know, there's just like, there's definitely in the past year in what I've been focusing on and with the kind of collective trauma that we've all been going through and this kind of breaking down of society as we know it, and the impending doom of Mother Nature, that makes me want to become close with people, and not just everybody, but like people that are aligned with who I am as a person in one specific way or another. Especially like, because if I think about like my family and even some of my friends, like we don't necessarily have all the same values that are aligned perfectly, and we'll have debates about certain things or disagreements about certain things, but like what always links us is that we're able to engage in those discussions and still love each other at the end of the day, and still accept each other and, you know, benefit from those conversations, because it, you know, it helps us both learn and it broadens our horizons for what we could know and what we could be learning. And I don't know, in the past year, I've just met a lot of people that aren't that way. And it's just kind of made me realize that like, I need to start building my world kind of around what my core values are, instead of trying to fit myself into places where that ultimately eat away at me and my soul. So
well put, Abby. She's the brains of this operation.
No, I just literally you know how
oh my god, can I bring something up?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. If you know me, I've brought this up to you already, but I just had this discovery the other day. You heard of aphantasia?
No.
Okay, so close your eyes and picture a blue cube. Okay. Do you see it?
Yes.
Oh, your mic cut out, so I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, yes, I saw it.
Okay, there's a nod. Now try spinning it.
Okay.
Are you like seeing the blue cube?
Yes.
Okay, so I can't. I don't visualize anything. And I just discovered that other people do. So that's why my memory is so fucking bad. And I'm a big dummy. No, that's not the only reason. But, so, majority of people, like, think about yoga. They're like, visualize the tree. I don't know what they say in yoga. But like, majority of people can see it, and like, for most people, it's like you can kind of see a picture, but there's some people who can like vividly like imagine things. Like my friend Angel, he's like, I can like look at a machine and like take it apart in my head and put it back together.
Yeah.
But then there's also like 2 or 3% of us that it's black. We don't see anything. Like we just think, we can like think really hard about something and like know what it looks like, but we're not seeing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty bummed about that.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think it's 2 to 3% because I brought it up to my friend the other day and she was like, oh my God, I have that too, because she's like, I thought that's just how people think. When they say visualize, they're not actually seeing it, right?
Yeah.
But they are. Most people are.
Yeah. Wow.
And Mal was trying to convince me that I don't have it. He's like, are you really sure? And like we were doing like the tests and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he just like looks over at me. He's like, this is why you're so bad at drawing, hey? And I was like, fuck. It is. Because I don't see anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like affects like there's a lot of really creative people that have it and are succeeding in it, but it makes that a little hard to be creative because I can't see, you know? And then my third eye is closed.
My third eye.
But yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
So that bummed me out this week. But I'm also just like, now I want to take more pictures of things because my memory is not as good.
Yeah.
Like I remember like certain really specific memories, but like I can't vividly remember like trips I went on or conversations and stuff. So
yeah. Well, because I have a bad memory, but the things that I do remember, I definitely have like very strong visual pictures. And I think that it's helped me like when I was really into writing and stuff like that. And I still am into writing. I need to get back into it. But like with world building and stuff like that, it's been able to like help me picture things and then like describe them very vividly.
Yeah. I think I would be better at writing if I was able to. Like when I read a book, I can still like think about what I'm reading.
Yeah.
Like what I think the room would look like and stuff, but I'm not like seeing like a vivid picture. So
yeah. Wow.
It's not a disability, so
no, but that's like extremely interesting. And I don't think like, especially if you have had this all your life or like you've been like that all your life, like obviously it would be like if you were born blind for your entire life.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just like, that's how people think. Like,
exactly.
That's just how
like,
brains work.
Exactly. So it's not like you're really going to know anything else, which, I mean, yeah. I don't necessarily think you're losing out on anything. But when you dream, like, do you remember your dreams, first of all? And, like, can you see images and sceneries from your dreams?
It depends on the dream. Sometimes I can wake up and I remember a dream fully, but like I have very vivid dreams, like dreams that where it feels like I'm there.
Yeah.
But like just like closing my eyes and thinking about something, like it's black. I don't see anything. It's really bizarre.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dreaming and like whatever our visualization centers must be completely different then, right? Like.
Well, yeah. Like I was reading and like it says. It was like, can't speak for everyone, but I'm pretty sure most people can still dream that like have it. It's just another A added to my list. I have aphantasia, asthma, anxiety, anemia. Just a big loser.
Another A added to my list. Oh, wait, I love that. Wow,
so
that's
hot.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, this actually kind of like brings it back. How much of your identity, like, do you think identity can be like sexuality or gender or like mental disorders or anything like that? Like, how much of identity do you think is, I guess it's different for everybody?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely different for everybody, because some people will say, I'm a person with anxiety, and I'm like, no, I'm just an anxious person, because it's like every second of the day I'm anxious. It's pretty like overwhelming to who I am as a person. But like, for those of you who don't know, I'm bi. And it's not because I'm in a straight relationship, it's not like a day-to-day thing that I really have to talk about, or and I mean, like, I have pride in it and I'm happy to be a part of the community and stuff, but like, it's not, I don't have to face like the struggles really, because I'm not walking down the street holding hands with a woman, you know? So that's not something that, it's like something I think about, but it's not something that really like affects my identity personally, because I'm currently like in a hetero relationship. So, yeah. I mean, I like gender-wise, I'm still a lady, so I don't really have an opinion on that. But do you find that affects your identity?
I mean, I don't know. There's a part of me that's torn, because I think that like when it comes to my individual identity, not so much. But I think when it comes to like a collective, when it comes to my gender and sexuality per se, like to the collective, to the LGBTQ plus community, I think that like there's a part of me that does have it tied into my collective identity, because I am part of those communities, and like I am proud of being part of those communities. But when it comes to my individual identity, like I would say it's not as big of an impact like on my core values as a human being. I'm going to put it that way, because like it has had a huge impact on my life and in the experiences that I have. But yeah, no, I would say like I am non-binary, I am bisexual, but it's not who I am as a person, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
because it's like once you have it figured out, it's less of like like at one point it was like an identity struggle, because it's like, who am I, a lesbian, or do I like that happened so many times growing up. I'm like, I think I just like girls. And I'd see like a guy and I'm like, maybe not. But like, on a day-to-day, since it's something you've already like figured out, it's just like, I am, but it like doesn't affect my values or my personality or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think that there's a part of me that's also like views it in a way that personally for me, it's not that big of a deal. And not because like I've been like fully accepted and it's just like cool with all my family and my friends and my coworkers, and I'm just like an accepted person and nobody has ever had issues with me because of my gender identity or my sexuality. That's not the case at all. But I've made a personal choice to take away the weight of those sentiments and those like that part of who I am. And I'm just like, it's just who I am. It's literally not that big of a deal. And if people want to make it a big deal, then like that's their own shit that they have to work through. But like, I don't know. Because if I like put way too much weight and focus, like this again is just for me personally in my experience, like it really does, it does start to eat away at me in a way where like I'm like, well, why is my family still like kind of homophobic because they have a bisexual kid? Like they shouldn't be. And I'm like, that's their own shit. Like once again, it's not a big deal. Like, that's their own journey that they're going through of like learning and acceptance and stuff like that. And it doesn't change who I am or how I see myself, and I shouldn't let it. But I think one thing that I've realized is that when it comes to my gender identity, and being non-binary, like I use she, they pronouns. And I'm still trying to like sort this out. I haven't completely figured it out, like whether I'm non-binary or gender fluid or like what, like I really, I don't know. I have to like read more queer theory or something because I'm like, I don't know what I am. And I don't like being told who I am. And maybe that's just the issue to begin with, because I could be literally anything. But I have started to come to realize that like it really does bother me when like people refer to me as like a girl and like put patriarchal standards on my performance of femininity and blah 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 blah. You know, like it really gets under my skin. And it really hurts me in a way that like is hard to kind of like describe because so yeah, maybe my, I would say maybe my gender identity is more wrapped up in my identity as a human being, because it still is having a huge impact on me, and it is still something that I'm trying to unpack and like go on this journey of being like how much of who I am as a person has been constructed for the male gaze, and my idea of my femininity versus my masculinity, and how like my gender identity isn't tied up in that, but also is for me in a specific way. Because I don't know, I've had queer people tell me, being like, well, gender expression and gender identity are like completely different things, and they're not related at all. And I was like, well, yes, and also like no, because I think my gender identity and like my discovery and my journey has come out of me not wanting to perform femininity in a specific way. And I can't just like disregard that and invalidate that experience as, you know, like, I don't know. It's just like, so yes, it's, my point is it's very tied up in who I am, and it's a journey that I'm going on. And like, definitely like one of my core values is being able to kind of forge my own path in being whatever the fuck I want to be. But yeah, I don't know.
We should definitely do an episode on gender and sexuality and stuff. Because I'm very interested in hearing more about your journey, if you're comfortable talking about it. And
I'd love to.
Like, I'm since I came out the womb, I was like, I have a crush on everyone, so that part of me was pretty easy to figure out. And gender's not something I've really thought about. And I don't know if I'm just don't want to, or I'm just lucky enough to just be solid in my skin, like just the way I am, you know?
For sure.
I don't know.
No. That'll be a very interesting episode, and I am very excited to talk about it.
I just like listening to Abby talk. That's why I'm here.
I like listening to you talk, Brittany.
I mean, ramble nervously.
You're so funny, though.
Thanks. The first chunk of this episode was just me freaking out. I don't know if you guys will see all of that.
They don't have to know that. No,
with Abby's wizardry and editing. But mosquito! I have a mosquito bite. That's so. Ugh. Anyways. Any closing thoughts?
Ooh. I don't know. I guess, like, not that I am in a place to give sound advice, because this is still something, like, the thing that this shouldn't be a worry, but I feel like it should just be a disclaimer, is that neither I nor Brittany have it all figured out, like, to any extent.
Fucking clearly.
we have literally no authority over these subjects, and it's the goal is to just kind of share our thoughts and where we're at. And I think that like one of my big flaws is I say things with so much certainty, and I sound like I like, oh, I'm there, I know exactly what I'm talking about, and like I know exactly what I mean. But the truth is, in like 2 to 6 months, that will entirely change, and I'll be a different person and like have different thoughts on things. But I think that from where I'm at right now, I can hopefully encourage people to kind of like strip away their view of themselves through the lens of capitalism, and their view of themselves through the lens of the patriarchy. And this can be men, women, non-binary people, like trans people, like literally anybody can do this, where you just take away those lenses of society, and who are you after all of that is gone, and try to like sort out maybe like some core values. And it doesn't have to be something that happens all at once. I feel like when I kind of get an idea in my head, I spend probably the next like 2 weeks to like 3 months thinking about it obsessively, which is just a product of who I am as a person. And like, I don't know, I think that there's a lot of value, especially in these times, to make sure that you like what's there afterwards, and that you at least you can have some direction on like where to start looking, or like just pick out things that you really like about yourself, like outside of all of that. I think that's like really important. And yeah, eventually you'll be able to get to a point, I think, where like you'll be a lot more certain about the people you want in your life and the things that you want to do outside of those two scopes, because I think a large part of our individual identity is tied up in them for everybody. And to try and deconstruct that is difficult, and you might be met at the end of it with a lot of dissatisfaction with where your life is at. But like, then that just kind of gives you an idea of what you can do to like change it in any way that is available to you. Sorry, that was once again a lot, but
pardon? It cut out a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
It's all
yeah,
good.
at the very least, like, we're not coming to you with the answers to life, but at the very least, like, just being able to talk about things maybe you're not really thinking about, or that you just don't know how to word. It's funny coming from me. Yeah, I don't know. I just want this to be a community, and I want to be your guys' friends. And I'd like to end this episode by each of us saying one thing we like about ourselves as like a person. So,
okay.
Abby. Oh no, you froze.
Oh, okay. I'll wait until I'm unfrozen to say my thing.
Okay, say your thing.
Okay. I really like that I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but often am always right about people on the first go around. I say I'm pretty intuitive, and I like that about myself.
Nice. I would say that I think I'm kind. I think I've just never, I treat everyone the same, and I think that's my best quality. Is it doesn't matter who you are or what your status is. It's like I try to speak to everyone in the same manner, and I like that about myself.
That is very awesome. Kind people are important, and I'm really starting to realize that because I generally get an idea of what people are like, I can tell who the kind-hearted ones are, and I need to focus more on those people instead of...
She's like, and it's not you.
No, you are.
I thought that's where you're going with it. I was like, damn. Shit.
Brittany's a liar.
been a liar.
No, but kind people are extremely important, and I love them so much, and I need to stop trying to impress the ones who aren't.
Who are not kind. Yeah. So leave them alone. Let them fester in their
exactly.
bitterness.
Exactly.
Anyways, I'm sweating bullets.
Yeah. I need to poop again.
Thank you for joining us on episode 10 of the pod. Sorry, did I cut you off? Your audio just cut out again.
I just said I needed to poop again. That's fine.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
It's Abby's second poop of the day. We've got to get out of here. Thank you for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. Shout out to Doug Hoyer for our intro and outro music. We love it. Shout out to Mal for our graphic. Woo. And please reach out to us on social media. I'm on Twitter all the time. Even if you just want to chat, I'm there. Yes. We have TikTok, Instagram, all that jazz. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Thank you for listening. Bye. Bye.